The smell hit me first. Rotting vegetables mixed with something that might have been fish, or might have been a dead rat. I didn't want to know which. My stomach growled as I pushed aside a soggy cardboard box, searching for anything edible in the dumpster behind Romano's Italian kitchen. Jesus Christ, is that Michael Thompson? I froze, half my body still hanging over the metal rim. Three voices, all familiar in that nauseating way that made my skin crawl. Holy shit, it is! The guy from that soap opera. What was it called? Harbor Dreams. My mom used to watch that crap religiously. Look at him now, digging through garbage like some kind of animal. I straightened up slowly, turning to face them. Three guys in expensive suits, probably heading to some overpriced steakhouse after their corporate circle jerk meeting. I recognized one of them. Brad something. Used to kiss my ass at industry parties when I was somebody. Well, well, I said, wiping my hands on my torn jeans. If it isn't the three wise men, let me guess, you're here to offer me gold, frankincense, and myrrh? Brad's face went red. Jesus, Thompson, what happened to you? What happened? Where do I even start? My loving wife Lena decided she preferred her best friend's husband Chad Hamilton over me. Not just his money, though his luxury car dealership certainly didn't hurt, but apparently his complete lack of acting talent made him more authentic than someone who'd spent 15 years pretending to be other people for a living. Life happened, Bradley. You should try it sometime instead of whatever corporate zombie existence you're living. Dude, you look like shit, one of his friends said. When's the last time you showered? Tuesday, or maybe it was last Tuesday. Time loses meaning when you're living the dream. They exchanged glances, the kind that said they couldn't wait to post about this encounter on social media. Former soap star reduced to dumpster diving. It would get them likes for weeks. Maybe you should, I don't know, get help or something, Brad offered, though his tone suggested he'd rather recommend I get hit by a bus. Help? You mean like the help I got from my wife when she cleaned out our joint accounts? Or the help I got from my agent when he dropped me after Lena's little media campaign? Or maybe the help I got from my kids when they decided Dad was too embarrassing to acknowledge? The third guy, a thin weasel in a pinstripe suit, pulled out his phone. This is going straight to Instagram. Fallen star hits rock bottom. Before I could tell him where he could shove his phone, a black sedan pulled up to the curb. The window rolled down, revealing a man in his 60s, with silver hair and eyes like winter mornings. Michael Thompson? Depends who's asking. My name is Harrison Black. I represent the estate of your great-uncle, Cornelius Thompson. I need to speak with you privately. The three corporate vultures suddenly looked very interested. Brad stepped forward. Hey, maybe we should leave, I finished. Yeah, maybe you should. Mr. Black got out of the car. He was tall, impeccably dressed, and carried himself like someone who'd never doubted his place in the world. Everything I used to be, in other words. Gentlemen, he said to my former admirers, I suggest you move along unless you'd like to explain to your employers why you're harassing my client. A something in his voice made them scatter like roaches when the lights come on. Brad shot me one last look of disgust before they hurried away. Your client? I asked. As of 5 minutes ago, yes. Your great-uncle Cornelius died last week. He's left you something rather substantial. I laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Let me guess. His collection of bottle caps and unpaid parking tickets? A penthouse in Manhattan, a yacht, and $47 million. The words hit me like a physical blow. I stared at him, waiting for the punchline. There's a condition, he continued. You have 10 years to help 100 people find their true purpose in life. If you fail, everything goes to charity. This is a joke, right? Some kind of reality show prank. Mr. Black handed me a thick envelope and a hotel key card. The Marriott downtown, room 412. Everything you need to know is in there. I'll be in touch tomorrow. He got back in his car and drove away, leaving me standing on the sidewalk, holding what might be my salvation, or my final humiliation. Back in the hotel room, a real room with clean sheets and a functioning shower, I opened the envelope. Inside was a letter in my uncle's spidery handwriting, legal documents that looked legitimate, and a photograph of a man I barely remembered from childhood family gatherings. Michael, the letter began. If you're reading this, then you've hit bottom. Good, that's where real men find out what they're made of. The money is real, the conditions are real, and your first assignment is real. You must help someone who destroyed you find their true purpose. I suggest you start with your ex-wife. I set the letter down and walked to the window. Somewhere out there, Lena was probably laughing with Chad about how pathetic I'd become. They'd leaked stories to the tabloids, turned my own children against me, and made sure I'd never work in entertainment again. Help Lena find her true purpose? I smiled for the first time in months. Oh, I'd help her find her purpose, all right. 3 weeks later, I stood in the lobby of Meridian Tower, wearing a suit that cost more than most people's monthly rent. The penthouse was everything Mr. Black had promised. Floor-to-ceiling windows, marble everywhere, and a view that made you feel like you owned the city. I'd spent those weeks planning, not just the revenge, though that was certainly on the agenda, but the complete reconstruction of Michael Thompson. New clothes, new haircut, new attitude. The broken man digging through dumpsters was gone, replaced by someone with 47 million reasons to be confident. My phone buzzed. A text from the private investigator I'd hired. Got what you wanted. Lena's been busy. The photos were better than I'd hoped. Lena and her supposed best friend Tina Russo in a passionate embrace outside the Ritz-Carlton. Not Chad. Tina. The same Tina who'd been at our wedding, who'd comforted me when my father died, who'd been playing the long game for years. Another text. Chad doesn't know. Neither does Tina's husband. Perfect. I walked into Hamilton Luxury Motors like I owned the place. Chad was in his office, feet up on his desk, probably counting the money he'd made selling overpriced cars to people with more dollars than sense. Michael? He nearly fell out of his chair. What the hell are you doing here? I'm shopping for a car. I hear you've got some nice rides. And he looked me up and down, taking in the expensive suit and confident posture. You look different. Clean living, Chad. Amazing what happens when you cut toxic people out of your life. Listen, about Lena and everything, water under the bridge, I smiled. I'm actually grateful. You did me a favor. His confusion was beautiful. A favor? Absolutely. See, I was so focused on being the perfect husband that I forgot who I really was. You helped me remember. I walked over to his prized possession. A red Ferrari 488 sitting in the showroom like a shrine to automotive excess. This is nice. Mind if I take it for a test drive? You want to drive my car? Your personal car, not one of the dealer vehicles. I like to know what I'm buying from the source. Chad's greed won out over his suspicion. He tossed me the keys. Don't scratch it. Wouldn't dream of it. I drove that Ferrari to the fish market downtown and filled the interior with the most aromatic selection of day-old seafood I could find. Then I stopped by a construction site and added some concrete dust to the mix. By the time I drove it back to the dealership, the smell was approaching biological weapons status. Chad was waiting in the parking lot, probably planning to show off for his sales team. His face when I opened the door was worth every penny I'd spent on fish. What the fuck did you do to my car? Test drove it. Took it to some places where I used to hang out. You know, really put it through its paces. You filled it with garbage. Not garbage, Chad. Memories. The smell of failure, the texture of desperation. I thought you'd appreciate the authenticity. He was screaming now, attracting attention from customers and staff. I pulled out my phone and started recording. This is what happens when you trust a loser, he yelled at the camera. Look at this. Look what this psycho did to my car. Psycho? I kept the phone steady. That's harsh, Chad. I'm just a customer who had a disappointing test drive experience. I'll sue you. I'll have you arrested. For what? Taking your car where you said I could take it? I don't think that's how test drives work, but hey, I'm not the car expert here. His face was purple now. 2 customers had stopped to watch, and I could see dollar signs fleeing from his eyes. You're insane. Maybe, but I'm insane with money now, which makes all the difference. I tossed him the keys and walked away, already uploading the video to every social media platform I could think of. By the time I got home, Car Dealer Meltdown was trending. That evening, I got a call from my daughter Emma, the only one of my kids who still talked to me. Dad, I saw the video. What are you doing? Evening the score, sweetheart. Mom's freaking out. She says you've lost your mind. Maybe I have. How's she doing, by the way? Still happy with her new life? Emma was quiet for a moment. She's been stressed lately. Something about a big deal falling through. And Chad's been weird since his car thing. Weird how? Paranoid. He thinks someone's out to get him. Smart man, even if he was a backstabbing weasel. Dad, whatever you're planning, maybe you should… What? Turn the other cheek? Forgive and forget? I tried that, Emma. It got me a dumpster for a dining room. This isn't you. You're right, the old me was weak. The old me let people walk all over him because he thought being nice mattered. This me? This me has learned that sometimes you have to burn bridges to keep the rats from crossing. After I hung up, I opened my laptop and started researching Lena's business dealings. If I was going to help her find her true purpose, I needed to understand what she'd built her life on. What I found was interesting, very interesting. Lena's real estate empire was impressive. I had to give her that. She'd parlayed our divorce settlement into a multi-million-dollar business, specializing in luxury properties for Chicago's elite. But empires built on shaky foundations have a tendency to crumble, and Lena's foundation was shakier than a house of cards in a hurricane. The documents I'd obtained, legally, through public records and a few well-placed contacts, painted a picture of creative accounting and questionable business practices. Nothing criminal, but definitely the kind of thing that would make investors nervous if it became public knowledge. I was studying her latest deal when my phone rang. "Mr. Black, how's your progress with the first assignment?" "Complicated. Turns out helping someone find their true purpose is harder when their current purpose is destroying other people's lives. Your uncle was confident you'd figure it out." "My uncle barely knew me. He knew more than you think. He followed your career, your marriage, your fall. He saw potential in you that others missed." "Potential for what? Revenge? Potential for justice. There's a difference." After he hung up, I sat in my penthouse, looking out at the city lights. Justice. Was that what this was? Or was I just a bitter ex-husband with too much money and not enough sense? My laptop chimed with a new email. The subject line made me smile. "Lena Thompson, urgent business matter." "Michael," it read. "I know we haven't spoken since the divorce, but I need your help. Someone is sabotaging my business deals. They're spreading lies about my company, and I'm losing clients. I think it might be Chad. We've been having problems lately. Can we meet? For old time's sake? Lena, for old time's sake." The woman who destroyed my life, turned my children against me, and made me a laughingstock, was asking for help for old time's sake. I typed back, "Lena, I'd be happy to help. Let's meet tomorrow at the Signature Room, 7 p.m., Michael." The Signature Room was where we'd had our first date 20 years ago. If she wanted to play the nostalgia card, I'd give her a hand to remember. I spent the next day preparing, not just for the meeting, but for what would come after. I'd learned a lot about patience during my time on the streets. Good things come to those who wait, but better things come to those who wait and plan. Lena was already there when I arrived, sitting at a corner table with a view of the lake. She looked older, more tired than in the photos I'd seen online. Success, it seemed, was wearing on her. "Michael," she stood to greet me, and for a moment, I saw the woman I'd fallen in love with all those years ago. Then I remembered the divorce papers, the custody battle, the systematic destruction of everything I'd cared about. "Lena, you look stressed." "Michael." She sat back down, studying my face. "You look good. Better than the last time I saw you." Rock bottom has a way of clarifying things. We ordered drinks, wine for her, whiskey for me. "Old habits. I meant what I said in the email," she began. "Someone is sabotaging my business. 3 major deals have fallen through in the past month. Clients are getting anonymous tips about problems with my company." "What kind of problems?" "Financial irregularities. Nothing illegal, but the kind of thing that makes people nervous." I leaned back in my chair. "And you think it's Chad? Who else would know enough about my business to cause this kind of damage? We've been having issues." "What kind of issues?" She looked out the window. "He's been distant, paranoid. Ever since that incident with his car, he's been convinced someone's out to get him." "Incident?" "Some crazy person filled his Ferrari with fish and garbage. He thinks it was targeted harassment. Sounds like he made someone angry. That's what I told him, but he's convinced it's part of some bigger conspiracy." She turned back to me. "Michael, I know I hurt you. I know the divorce was messy, but we were married for 15 years. That has to count for something." "It does count for something. It counts for a lot, actually." Hope flickered in her eyes. "So you'll help me. I'll do better than that. I'll give you a job." "A job?" "My assistant just quit. The pay is decent, the hours are reasonable, and it'll give you some stability while you figure out who's sabotaging your business." The hope died. "You want me to be your assistant? Think of it as a temporary arrangement, just until we get to the bottom of your business troubles." "Michael, I run a multi-million-dollar company. I don't need to be anyone's assistant." "Your multi-million-dollar company is hemorrhaging clients. How long before you're back to selling starter homes in the suburbs?" She was quiet for a long moment. What would the job entail? The standard assistant duties. Scheduling, correspondence, research. Nothing too demanding. And in return? I'll use my resources to find out who's sabotaging your business. I have connections you don't. It was a lie, of course. I knew exactly who was sabotaging her business, me. But she didn't need to know that yet. I need to think about it. Of course, take your time. But Lena? Don't take too much time. From what I hear, your creditors are getting impatient. Her face went white. How do you know about my creditors? Like I said, I have connections. I left her sitting there, staring out at the lake. By the time I got home, she'd already called twice. Desperation, I'd learned, was a powerful motivator. The next morning, she was waiting in my building's lobby, wearing a conservative business suit and the expression of someone swallowing their pride. I'll take the job, she said. Excellent. You start immediately. 2 months into Lena's employment as my assistant, the dynamic had shifted in ways I hadn't expected. She was good at the job. Better than good, actually. Organized, efficient, anticipating my needs before I voiced them. It was almost like the old days, when we'd worked together on my career. Almost. The difference was power. For the first time in our relationship, I held all the cards. She needed the job, needed the steady paycheck, needed the promise that I'd help solve her business problems. And I was in no hurry to deliver on that promise. Michael, she said, walking into my office with a stack of correspondence, I've been thinking about my situation. Oh, it's been 2 months, and we're no closer to finding out who's sabotaging my business. Maybe we should try a different approach. I looked up from my laptop. What kind of approach? More aggressive. Hire a private investigator. Maybe set up some kind of sting operation. That's expensive, Lena. Are you sure you want to go down that road? What choice do I have? Every day we wait, I lose more clients. What she didn't know was that her client list was about to get much shorter. I'd spent the morning making calls to her remaining accounts, planting seeds of doubt about her company's stability. Nothing actionable, just concerned questions about her recent troubles. Actually, I said, I think I might have a lead. Really? I've been doing some digging, and I think your problem might be closer to home than you realize. What do you mean? I mean someone with intimate knowledge of your business, your clients, your methods. Someone who knows exactly where to hit you for maximum damage. Chad? Maybe. Or maybe someone else. Someone you trust completely. I watched her face as the implications sank in. Trust was a luxury she couldn't afford anymore, and she was starting to realize it. I want to set up a meeting, I continued. You, me, Chad, and Tina. Clear the air. See who reacts badly to some pointed questions. Tina? Why Tina? She's your best friend, right? She knows your business almost as well as you do. If there's a leak in your inner circle, we need to plug it. Lena was quiet for a moment. When? This weekend. I'll arrange something neutral, maybe the yacht. You have a yacht? I have a lot of things now, Lena. Success has been kind to me. The yacht was beautiful, 60 feet of gleaming white fiberglass and chrome, moored at Belmont Harbor. I'd named it Second Chances, which I thought showed a nice sense of irony. Saturday evening, they all arrived within minutes of each other. Chad looked nervous, constantly checking his phone and glancing around like he expected assassins to leap from the shadows. Tina was her usual composed self, though I caught her studying me with calculating eyes. And Lena looked like a woman walking to her execution. Nice boat, Chad said, trying to project confidence he clearly didn't feel. Thanks. I thought it was time I enjoyed some of life's finer things. We settled on the main deck, with drinks and appetizers. The sun was setting over the lake, painting everything in shades of gold and red. It would have been romantic if we weren't all there to destroy each other. So, I began, let's talk about Lena's problem. What problem? Tina asked. Someone's been sabotaging her business, spreading rumors, scaring off clients, the kind of inside job that requires detailed knowledge of her operations. Chad shifted uncomfortably. Why are you looking at us? Because you're the people closest to her. If there's a traitor in her circle, it's one of you. That's ridiculous, Tina said. We're her friends. Are you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're all benefiting from her downfall. Chad gets to feel superior for once. Tina gets to swoop in and steal her clients. And everyone gets to watch the mighty Lena Thompson brought low. You're paranoid, Chad said. Just because your life fell apart doesn't mean everyone's out to get everyone else. My life fell apart because people I trusted decided to betray me. Sound familiar, Lena? She was staring at Tina with an expression I recognized, the same look she'd given me when she'd first suspected my affair with my co-star. Except I'd never had an affair. That had been her projection, her guilt manifesting as accusation. Tina, she said slowly, you've been asking a lot of questions about my business lately. I'm your friend. I'm concerned. Concerned enough to contact my clients directly? Tina's composure cracked slightly. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and played a recording. Tina's voice, clear as crystal. I'm just worried about Lena's stability. The divorce hit her hard, and now with all these financial problems. That was a private conversation, Tina snapped. With Lena's biggest client, the one who dropped her contract the next day. The silence stretched like a wire under tension. Chad looked confused. Lena looked devastated, and Tina looked trapped. You want to know who's been sabotaging your business, Lena? I continued. It's your best friend. The woman who's been consoling you, supporting you, all while systematically destroying everything you've built. That's not, Tina started. It's not what? Not true? I have recordings, Tina. Phone calls, meetings, emails. You've been playing the long game, waiting for Lena to fall so you could catch her clients on the way down. Lena stood up slowly, her face pale. Is it true? Lena, you have to understand. Is it true? Tina's mask finally slipped completely. You had everything. The successful business, the beautiful home, the perfect life. And you threw it away for what? For him? She pointed at Chad. You didn't deserve any of it. So you decided to take it from her, I said. I decided to claim what should have been mine from the beginning. Chad was looking back and forth between them, like a spectator at a tennis match. Wait, what's going on here? I smiled. You really don't know, do you, Chad? Know what? About Lena and Tina. About their special friendship. I pulled out my phone again and showed him the photos. His face went through several interesting color changes. You've been the cover story, Chad. The beard. While you thought you were stealing my wife, she was actually with her best friend. That's impossible. Is it? When's the last time you and Lena were actually intimate? When's the last time she seemed genuinely interested in you as anything other than a convenient excuse? Chad looked at Lena, who couldn't meet his eyes. You used me, he said. We all use each other, Chad. The question is whether we're honest about it. I need to go, Lena said. No, I said. You need to stay. We're not finished. What more is there to say? You've destroyed everything. My business, my friendships, my relationship. Are you happy now? Happy? No, Lena. I'm not happy. But I am satisfied. This is what you wanted all along, isn't it? Revenge. I wanted justice. There's a difference. Justice. You've ruined 3 lives tonight. I've revealed the truth. What you do with that truth is up to you. Tina stood up abruptly. I'm calling the police. This is harassment, maybe kidnapping. With what evidence? Everyone came here voluntarily. I have security footage showing all of you boarding the yacht willingly. You're insane. Maybe. But I'm insane with evidence, which makes all the difference. Chad was still staring at the photos on my phone. How long? He asked Lena. Chad, how long have you been lying to me? It's complicated. It's really not. You either love me or you don't. You either want to be with me or you don't. I care about you, but you're not in love with me. You're in love with her. He looked at Tina. And she's in love with destroying you. This is insane, Tina said. I'm leaving. A good idea, I said. But Tina, if I were you, I'd start looking for a new career. Word travels fast in Chicago's real estate community. After they left, Chad storming off in one direction, Tina in another. Lena and I were alone on the deck. The sun had set completely, and the city lights reflected off the water like fallen stars. Was any of it real? She asked. What? This, the job, the investigation, the promise to help me. Was any of it real? The job was real. You earned every paycheck. And the rest? The rest was justice, Lena. You destroyed my life, turned my children against me, made me a laughingstock. Did you think there wouldn't be consequences? I thought you were weak. I thought you'd just disappear. I almost did, but then I got a second chance, and I decided to use it. She was crying now, quiet tears that reflected the harbor lights. What happens now? Now you find your true purpose, which is, that's up to you. But I'd suggest starting with honesty. It's a radical concept, I know, but it might be worth trying. And us. There is no us, Lena. There hasn't been for a long time. She nodded and walked toward the gangway. At the last moment, she turned back. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. About everything. I know you are, but sorry doesn't fix what's broken. No, she said. I guess it doesn't. The charity gala was Lena's idea, which made it perfect. The annual Chicago Children's Foundation dinner, held at the Drake Hotel, attended by everyone who mattered in the city's social and business circles. She'd suggested it as a way to rebuild bridges and show the community that we could work together despite our differences. What she didn't know was that I'd been planning this moment for months. I stood at the podium, looking out at 500 of Chicago's most influential people. Lena sat at the head table, wearing a brave smile and a dress that probably cost more than most people's cars. Chad was at another table, looking uncomfortable in his rented tux. Tina had declined to attend, which was probably wise. Ladies and gentlemen, I began. Thank you for joining us tonight in support of Chicago's children. As someone who's experienced both success and failure, wealth and poverty, I understand the importance of giving our young people the tools they need to build better lives. Polite applause. They had no idea what was coming. I'd like to talk tonight about truth, about the masks we wear and the lies we tell ourselves, about the difference between who we pretend to be and who we really are. I clicked a remote, and the large screens around the room came to life. The first image was a photo of Lena and me on our wedding day, young and hopeful, and completely naive about what the future held. 20 years ago, I married the woman I thought was the love of my life. We built what looked like a perfect partnership. Successful careers, beautiful children, a home that was featured in magazines. The next slide showed our family at various events, the picture of success and happiness. But appearances, as we all know, can be deceiving. Behind the perfect facade, my wife was building a different kind of life, one based on deception, manipulation, and betrayal. Murmurs started rippling through the crowd. Lena's face had gone white. She systematically destroyed my career, turned our children against me, and made sure I'd lose everything in our divorce. But that wasn't enough. She wanted to ensure I'd never recover, never pose a threat to the new life she was building. The next slide was a recording. Audio only, but crystal clear. Lena's voice filled the room. He's pathetic, living on the streets like some kind of animal. The kids are embarrassed to have him as a father. Honestly, I think he'd be better off dead. The silence in the room was deafening. I let it stretch, watching as people turned to stare at Lena. This recording was made 6 months ago, at a private party. My ex-wife thought she was among friends, people who would appreciate her wit and charm. Another click. This time it was video, security footage from the yacht, showing Tina's confession about sabotaging Lena's business. But the story gets better. You see, while my ex-wife was busy destroying my life, her best friend was busy destroying hers. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the true face of friendship in our modern age. The crowd was restless now, some standing to get a better view, others pulling out phones to record. This would be on social media within minutes. Now, some of you might be wondering why I'm sharing this very personal drama at a charity event. The answer is simple, because charity begins with truth. We can't help others if we can't be honest about ourselves. I walked around the podium, closer to the audience. 6 months ago, I was homeless, literally digging through dumpsters for food while my ex-wife lived in luxury built on my destruction. I could have stayed bitter, stayed broken, stayed focused on revenge. Another slide. Photos of me at the soup kitchen, dirty and desperate. Instead, I chose to rebuild. Not just my life, but my understanding of what really matters. And what really matters is this. The truth has a way of surfacing, no matter how deep you try to bury it. I clicked the remote one final time. The screen showed bank records, legal documents, and financial statements. These documents show that I now own every significant debt held by both my ex-wife and her former lover. Their mortgages, their business loans, their credit lines, all of it. I could destroy them financially with a phone call. The crowd was completely silent now, hanging on every word. But I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to do something much more powerful. I'm going to forgive their debts, all of them, every penny. Gasps echoed through the room. Even Lena looked shocked. Why? Because revenge is easy, forgiveness is hard, and I've learned that the hardest choices are usually the right ones. I walked over to Lena's table, pulling out a thick folder. These are the documents transferring your debts to a charitable trust. You're free, Lena. free to build whatever life you choose, without the weight of financial destruction hanging over you. She was crying openly now, not caring about her makeup or her reputation. But freedom comes with responsibility. You have a choice to make. You can continue living the lie you've built, or you can choose truth. You can choose to be the person you were meant to be instead of the person you thought you had to be. I returned to the podium for my closing. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we're here to support children who need our help. But we're also here to remember that we're all children in some ways. Confused, frightened, trying to figure out how to be better than we were yesterday. I pulled out a check and held it up. I'm donating $10 million to the Chicago Children's Foundation tonight. Not because I want recognition, but because I want to give other people the second chances I've been given. The applause started slowly, then built to a standing ovation. But I wasn't finished, and I'm challenging everyone in this room to make their own choice. You can continue playing the games of deception and manipulation that define so much of our social world. Or you can choose something harder. You can choose truth. You can choose authenticity. You can choose to be the person you'd want your children to become. I set down the microphone and walked off the stage, leaving behind a room full of people who would be talking about this night for years to come. Outside the hotel, Lena caught up with me. Michael, wait. I turned around. She looked smaller somehow, diminished by the weight of public exposure. Why? She asked. Why forgive the debts? Why let me off the hook? Because carrying hatred is like carrying poison. Eventually it kills you from the inside. And because your uncle's will required you to help me find my true purpose? I smiled. You figured that out, did you? Mr. Black told me. About the inheritance, the conditions, all of it. And I think I understand now. My true purpose isn't building an empire or accumulating wealth or even being right. It's being honest. With myself, with our children, with everyone. That's a good start. Will you ever forgive me? Really forgive me? I looked at her for a long moment, this woman who had been my wife, my partner, my destroyer, and finally, my path to understanding what really mattered. I already have, Lena. That's what tonight was about. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. What happens now? Now you go home and figure out who you want to be. And I go home and do the same. And us. There is no us. But maybe, someday, there can be peace. I walked away, leaving her standing under the bright lights of the hotel entrance. Behind me, I could hear the sounds of the gala continuing. People talking, laughing, processing what they'd witnessed. My phone buzzed with a text from Mr. Black. 1 down, 99 to go. Your uncle would be proud. I smiled and kept walking. The night air was crisp, full of possibility. Somewhere in the city, there were 99 more people waiting for someone to help them find their true purpose. I had work to do.